Okay, take two. Hopefully this works tonight. Okay, take two. Hopefully this works tonight. Last night I did a bit of a sketch and recorded it. You can see what I did here. Unfortunately, the camera was in the wrong position and it recorded the backside of my head, which isn't too interesting. So tonight we're going to try this again and see what we can come up with. So let's see here. And I actually left one of my pins uncapped, so we'll see here. Anyways, so to recap what I had mentioned last night, so I got this picture of Wonder Woman, and I had done a pencil sketch here, and I had gone and done the outlines and did some ink work, but I'll sort of try to summarize what I talked about last night. I like to use Micron pens. I don't know if you can see that there. This is a 1. I got a 2 and a 3 and a 5. So anyways, this is the shading I did last night on her leg here. I'm going to go and probably do the boot and work on some more shading here again. So hopefully this time it doesn't catch the back side of my head. And what I was talking about last night, this is kind of weird because I have to go like all over it again, is we have darker areas here, and then we have super light areas, and then we have gray areas. And so we have to be careful with ink that you don't get it too dark because you can't erase. So what I did is there's a bit of a shine here and a bit of a shine there and a little bit of a reflection here, so I sort of left that as sort of a mid-tone on the sketches here. And so tonight we're going to try to maybe do the boot and maybe her other leg. In fact, maybe we'll just start with the other leg and finish her trousers, her pants out here. So we'll see. Now this is a 0.1. What I have here, this was all done with the 0.1 as well, and we might go back over this and get parts of this a little bit darker. So here we have this super shiny spot, which I have kind of outlined there. And the one thing that I mentioned before is don't take the shiny spot and outline it. That's just those are sort of just guidelines as to where to make it slightly darker and slightly lighter. So here's there's a gray area right here. So we're going to go, what I talked about last night, I do this little sort of, I guess I call it flecking or whatever. And I don't ever try to get it as dark as I'm going to end up with the first time across, because if you do and you get it too dark, then you're kind of screwed. You have to go and fix it and make everything and the rest of the picture darker, and we don't really want to do that. So this here area is really dark, so we're going to probably start there and work our way to the lighter areas. We'll talk about a little bit of, yeah, there we are. Make that a little darker. And what I did is I took a little bit of artistic license. This isn't exactly, I didn't really like the belt here. There's a lot of complications on it, and I didn't want to have to get into that. And I didn't draw her rope because drawing rope is just really hard. Period, whether you're painting it or sketching it or whatever. It's just kind of hard, so I didn't really want to worry about that a whole lot. And another thing that you can do is when you're going along on here, this is a belt, and so anything under the belt is going to be dark because it's in shadow, so you can make it a little bit darker and start your lines out there. Do this. This is just one way of doing it. There's many ways of shading. And what we'll see here is when we go this direction here, we're also gonna, there'll be other parts that we'll shade later, and we'll probably do a couple different videos here. But we'll show how you go one direction, and then to show contrast, like on the boot, we'll go another direction, kind of like down here where we're trying to show some of the wrinkles in her boots. We'll have to do that again probably. And see, now this is very black in here, so we can kind of start there and get a little bit dark, you know, go kind of dark and go to light. so it's really dark there, kind of not so dark here, really dark right there. So we'll and this is, like I said, this is just one way of shading. You see here where this little bump is, the light, and we talked about this last night, but we're not ever going to see that video. Light's coming in from here and from here on the top. So any little curves like here, like right here, this is going to be a little lighter, even though maybe you don't see it over there. It's little subtle things like that that sort of make it seem more realistic. So here's where we're going to have a little bit of darkness right there, and then we're going to let it not be as dark, and then kind of darken it in. And you can sort of see how this, and then we'll have a little bit of a shadow here as it would curve back underneath there a little bit. And it's little things like that, little subtleties that tend to make the shading kind of pop and seem a lot more realistic. Okay, so let's again, we had black, we had some white in here. This is kind of gray in here, so we'll go in. Now we'll make that a little darker, but we're still going to leave some light areas there. And like her, the areas that are on her inside of her thighs here, those are always going to be in shadow, so those should always be dark anyways. Or darker, not necessarily dark, but did is I have this in pencil, and then when I'm done I can go and erase the pencil lines, and most of the black ink will still stay there. So one thing, if you're coming to Umicon here in a few weeks, I'm going to be having a panel on how to do shading, and this is one of the methods I'll demonstrate. And I'm actually probably going to have either this Wonder Woman or another Wonder Woman, and I'll have that available. I'll put it on my website or my Facebook, and you guys can download it and print it off if you want, or I'll just bring some copies for people. Unfortunately, it won't be in pencil because I'm not going to go pencil over everything, so you won't get the ability to erase the pencil lines, but I'll try, and when I print it off, I'll try to print it super light so that they're just faint outlines in which we're going to follow, because the panel isn't on how to sketch, it's more on how to shade. So we'll have some different bits of paper here that I'll hand out maybe, or you can download or whatever. We'll get to that more as Umicon gets closer. So see how this looks like I guess a backwards F, and it's light here, a little darker here, and really dark here. So this is light, this was dark. We can make this, kind of shade this in and make it a little darker. Go back and kind of do that, and then we'll do it again. A lot of it's just practice and control. How hard do you push the pen? If you have bumpy paper, you can kind of let the pen bounce across the paper if you're using like watercolor paper, which I'll show that too when I'm at Umicon. I'll try and record what I'm doing at Umicon for those people that can't make it. That way you can sort of see. So see, we have this light, and then we have a dark gradient. So we can make it a little bit more darker there. You can almost, it's not really a line, but there's a definite boundary where it gets dark. So we'll try and darken that in a little bit more right there. Like that. There we go. And let's see, then it kind of goes, this is all very dark in this area, and that area. And notice the reflection here. That's sort of an important thing we're going to have to try to keep in mind as we're doing this, and that's hard to, it's going to be hard to do with ink. There's actually there's ways it can be done with tapes and stuff like that, but if you wanted to have a very harsh line, and that's, well, that is kind of a harsh line, so maybe we'll try that here just a little bit. So, I mean, actually, should we try that? Maybe not on this paper. I might try that somewhere else, like down on her boot or something. Well, let's actually try that here. So, just a little check. Right here, where there's this line, and it's a definite line, and it's a reflection of the light. So we're going to put some tape. This is the top of her boot. Her knee is about right here. Going to kind of go like that. Nope, that's too far over. Needs to be a little closer there. There we go. So, now that we have this little boundary, this is sort of a, I don't know, I'm going to call it a cheat. It's a trick. We'll see what it does here in a second. It'll be really cool. I've done this before, so I have a bit of an idea of how it's going to turn out here. Okay, so we did that one. You gotta be careful you don't get ink. I probably should use another piece of paper or another piece of tape. And when we pull this off here, there'll be an area that doesn't have any ink on it at all. That's our little line, and then we'll go over it lightly to make it. If it was supposed to be white, then it would be white. Actually, this whole area could be, we could make this gray. So let's just sort of make this a little bit darker. I'm kind of using my finger here to make sure I don't get outside my boundaries. Let's see, there we got, that's supposed to be light, so we're going to just use the finger. Off. I went a little farther down, so maybe I need to continue the other side a little bit further here still. Looks like to about right there. And that's really black right there, so we're gonna that we make that really dark. bit of a line there that looks kind of interesting and cool. So, but it's supposed to be gray, not necessarily bright white, so we'll add a little bit of shadow in there, kind of like that, but we do get the nice line effect there. And then there's this other area here that's a little softer edge. And just kind of go slow, you don't have to go fast. That's the nice thing about ink, you know, you get tired of it, put it down, come back. That's what's really nice about doing it at conventions is if I have to stop and talk to somebody, I can give them my attention. I don't have to ignore them. I can just sort of, you know, put the ink marker down and keep, you know, pick it up wherever it is I left off. Even with Copics, that's what's really nice about Copics is usually you can just begin and reblend them. Harder to do with paint, so I don't really paint at conventions anymore. Unless I have a helper that can take care of people. But then I don't get to talk to them, so. See, we're sort of getting that little light effect in there by going a little bit darker and then a little bit lighter here. So we'll probably just finish up this bit of this her leg on her other side here tonight, and that'll be the end of this little video clip. See, I know that's going to be super dark, so I can darken that, and that gives me a little bit more options where to just put down my pen. This doesn't look that hard. I mean, or maybe it does, I don't know. The thing is just to take your time. Go over it lightly, so you can go over it again. Don't, like I said, don't try and get it all. Your dark areas don't have to be super dark the first time. I mean, how many times did I go over this, you know, trying to get this shape figured out here. You know, usually you can't erase ink too well. It doesn't, you can erase ink, you can scratch it off. I'll show you that at some point too. It's a little harder though, and it doesn't, you can't always do it. Sometimes. Okay, so then here we got some wrinkles, so here we got darker areas, and go into the darker areas and then take the light areas. So this was sort of light, and then this was really pretty dark over here. I think there's a little wrinkle there, so we'll try to put that little wrinkle into there a little bit. Make that side dark. You don't always have to follow what you see here, but it helps because whatever created that had a certain way of the light hit it in a certain manner and certain patterns to where the light was coming from that you're probably trying to stick to. Okay, you can see I kind of got outside the line a little bit here, so, but we also got some pretty heavy black there, so we can just can touch it up another time, one more time here. There we go. Let's go over it more. Like I said, so just, and see this here, this line was harsh. I don't know if you can see that. This is a very distinct line. This is kind of soft. So I kind of need to still come in here. Yeah, a little bit of too harsh of a border here. So, excuse me, dinner. So I need to kind of add some randomness in there to break that up. There, this still needs to be a little darker. And I might come back in another time and just darken it up a little bit. Sometimes, you know, you want to like say, okay, I'm kind of done doing that, or you want to go off and think about something different for a while. You notice how like on this one, on this leg we did this, and on this pant leg we did that. Nothing wrong with that. Be consistent. Don't start out with part of this pant leg this way and then start changing it like this. This pant leg was this way, we kind of bent it a little bit and then did a curve. And looking back, I probably should have done this more like this because the roundness is this way, not this way, but you know what, that's just how I did. That's how I chose to do it last night. And that's kind of where we are. And we'll stop there. And we'll see if this comes out, and tune in again before YumaCon, and we'll probably try to have this finished by then. And we'll do like a little bit of a video here and there, and by the time YumaCon rolls around, you'll see how I sketched the whole thing and shaded it in. And then we'll probably do this at YumaCon, but we'll use some Copics as well. So anyways, hope you enjoyed that.